Chosen ones, it's actually embarrassing how they fumbled you. This message should have come sooner, but God's perfect timing has brought it forth now, in the exact moment you needed it. You were the blessing they never saw coming, the gift they overlooked, the anchor of clarity in their chaos. From the moment you entered their lives, your presence shifted the dynamic, whether they chose to acknowledge it or not. The truth is, they didn't even realize what they had until it was too late. Their blindness to your value was their downfall, a mistake they'll be forced to reconcile with for the rest of their lives. It wasn't your job to show them your worth. Your existence alone was the offering. They fumbled because they lacked the awareness, not because you weren't enough. It's embarrassing for them, really. God revealed to you the bigger picture, that they didn't just lose you. They lost the very thing that was holding their lives together. The blessing you brought wasn't small or insignificant. It was monumental. Their lives lacked a key element that only you could provide, and in their ignorance they dismissed it. God has shown you that their loss is beyond repair. They let something divine slip through their fingers, and that's a mark of their failure, not yours. Consider the countless moments where people, whether in your family, workplace, or social circles, failed to recognize the gravity of your influence. In your family, you were the one who held conversations together, bridging gaps in communication, yet they ignored your voice, always assuming it would be there without acknowledging its value. At work, your contributions were often taken for granted. The projects you led finished without fanfare, while others claimed credit for your labor. You didn't need applause, but the constant disregard was deafening. When you offered support, advice, or simply your presence, they assumed you'd always be there, filling the gaps. Their mistake was assuming your value would remain even when they stopped noticing it. You saw the cracks forming in their lives, but it wasn't your responsibility to fix them. You were already the solution, the quiet storm of grace that held their chaos at bay. When they pushed you aside, they weren't just losing you, they were unraveling the blessings they were too blind to see. The weight of their mistake was never yours to carry, yet you felt its crushing force. The betrayal from people you trusted, the ones you loved or worked tirelessly for, left a wound that ran deep. You gave your all, not half-heartedly, but with everything you had, only to be met with indifference, ingratitude, or outright rejection. This isn't about what you lacked, but about what they failed to recognize. You were the steady presence, the voice of reason, the one who brought solutions when others brought only problems. And when they fumbled you, the emotional exhaustion was real, but the fault was entirely theirs. It's painful to realize that the very people you supported didn't value you in return. At work, you stayed late to finish the projects no one else could handle. When deadlines loomed and pressure mounted, they leaned on you, expecting miracles. And yet, when the accolades were handed out, your name was never mentioned. In family dynamics, you held people together, quietly easing conflicts and keeping relationships intact. You were the glue, but they treated you like an afterthought. Their disregard wasn't just negligence. It was a clear sign they didn't understand your worth. That realization left scars, but it's not your shame to bear. It's theirs. The embarrassment is on them. They fumbled something that most people would treasure for life, a chosen one. God doesn't place people like you in their lives by accident. You were there for a purpose, and they failed the test. Their lack of awareness is their downfall, not yours. To lose you wasn't just a small error. It was a catastrophic failure, one they will replay in their minds over and over again. They'll search for replacements, hoping to find someone who can fill the void, but deep down they know the truth. There is no replacing you. The blessings you brought weren't replaceable. They were irreplaceable, and that's what they'll have to live with. You're not the one who should feel any embarrassment. They had the most valuable asset right in front of them, and they threw it away like it was nothing. That's a mark on their conscience, a burden they'll have to carry. You, on the other hand, are free from it. They fumbled, and they'll be living in the shadow of that mistake for a long time. God wanted them to fumble you. It was never an accident or oversight, but a deliberate orchestration. They had to lose you, not because you weren't enough, but because they were never meant to hold on to you in the first place. Their failure was part of the divine plan, a crucial step in your elevation. They needed to feel the weight of your absence to understand the magnitude of your presence. When God lets people fumble a chosen one, it's not a mistake, it's a reckoning. Their inability to recognize your worth was a reflection of their own limitations, not yours. God saw their lack of vision and allowed them to fall into their blindness, so that the loss could serve as the harshest wake-up call they'll ever experience. Their loss is the most painful revelation they'll face, and it's meant to haunt them. The empty seat where you once stood, the silence where your voice once filled the space, it will become a reminder of what they'll never get back. They'll try to replace you with others, to fill the gap with something or someone that could never come close. But every attempt will fail. This was never about you being insufficient. It was always about them being incapable of seeing the gift God placed before them. They were supposed to stumble. They were supposed to fall short because God needed them to witness the full glory of what they let slip through their fingers. This experience is your gain. God allowed the fumble not to break you, but to elevate you beyond the spaces and people who could never appreciate your value. As they fumbled, you rose. You walked out of their grasp, not by force but by divine design. They were never meant to hold you, and now they must watch from a distance as you ascend to heights they'll never reach. Their failure will become your testimony, proof that you were always meant for more than what they could offer, and God allowed it so that in time they would be forced to witness your greatness from a place of regret, a place where they no longer have access to you. Their loss is your liberation. God wanted them to fumble you so they could never deny what they had and what they lost, and in that loss you were freed to claim what was always yours, the life of purpose and power that God had destined for you all along. You were hidden in plain sight, and they never saw it coming. They misjudged and underestimated you because they couldn't see past the surface, couldn't grasp the magnitude of what you were becoming. Like a house under construction, they glanced at the scaffolding, the dust and the unfinished walls, failing to comprehend the grandeur that would follow. They judged you too soon, thinking what they saw was all there ever would be. But your transformation was far from over. You were in the process of becoming your highest self, and their lack of vision blinded them to your potential. It's a revelation that will haunt them. The moment they realize just how badly they fumbled, you will be the moment they understand the depth of their mistake. They had a chosen one standing right in front of them, and they treated you like you were nothing special. It's embarrassing for them now because the truth is emerging. As your value becomes undeniable, their ignorance is laid bare for all to see. What they once dismissed as ordinary is now revealed to be extraordinary, and they have no one to blame but themselves. Consider in your workplace, you were the quiet force behind every success, the one who stayed late, the one who connected the dots that no one else could see. Yet, when it came time to acknowledge the contributions, they skipped over your name, thinking you were just another piece of the puzzle. They handed promotions to others, gave credit to those who coasted on your work. But now, as the projects you touched continue to thrive and the ones they favored falter, the realization is sinking in. You weren't just another employee. You were the cornerstone they overlooked. It's embarrassing for them now because they'll have to live with the knowledge that they fumbled you. They'll look back and see how they dismissed someone who was in the process of becoming unstoppable. They'll recognize how they failed to nurture what could have propelled them forward. But it's too late. Your transformation has already taken place, and you've outgrown the spaces they tried to confine you to. Now they're left with the sting of their mistake, while you continue to rise beyond what they ever imagined possible. Their failure is their own, and the revelation of your greatness is your victory. They now know what they lost. Over time, the undeniable truth creeps into their consciousness, and the magnitude of their mistake becomes impossible to ignore. Whether it's a family member who dismissed your presence, a boss who failed to see your brilliance, or a friend who took your loyalty for granted, they all face the same inevitable realization. You were irreplaceable. The irony stings because at the time, they believed they were the ones with power, the ones making decisions. They walked away, assuming they'd easily find someone better, not understanding that they were letting go of the best thing they'd ever have. Now, they sit in the rubble of their choices, haunted by their miscalculation. Consider the colleague who always received recognition for projects they barely touched, while you worked quietly behind the scenes, the one who believed they were indispensable. They thought they could leave for a better position, taking credit for your hard work. Yet as time passed, their new role didn't deliver the success they expected. The projects they now oversee collapse without your invisible hand guiding them, and the truth becomes unavoidable. Their competence was never the reason for success. It was your unnoticed brilliance that held it all together. Now they sit in meetings, their confidence shaken, trying to replicate what you effortlessly provided. They can't, and they know it. Or think of the family member who constantly undermined you, treating your achievements as inconsequential. They always assumed they could rely on your presence without acknowledging the value you brought. When you distanced yourself, they assumed life would go on as usual, not realizing that your absence would create a void they couldn't fill. Now, the family gatherings are quieter and less vibrant, and the warmth and connection gone. It's the unspoken truth everyone feels but no one admits. Without you, they are fractured, and the irony is that they thought they were the ones holding the family together. Their downfall is poetic justice. They believed the grass was greener on the other side, that your role in their lives was easily replaceable. Now, as they look back, the truth is blinding. They fumbled the one thing they couldn't afford to lose. It's too late for them to fix it, and they are left to watch from a distance as you rise, knowing full well they'll never have access to you again. The regret is theirs to carry, the realization inevitable. What you must do now is clear. Don't let their fumble break you. The rejection, the abandonment, the disappointment, it wasn't your fault. It was never about your worth or ability. It was about their inability to see what was right in front of them. Their vision was limited, and their decision to walk away or dismiss you was rooted in their own shortcomings, not in anything you lacked. Internalizing their failure would only hinder your own growth. You cannot allow their blindness to shape how you see yourself. You are more than their inability to recognize your value. Now is the time to embrace your divine destiny. God's plans for you are far greater than anything those who fumbled you could ever offer. They were a small part of the bigger picture, and their failure was not the end of your story. It was merely a stepping stone. You are being led to something far more significant, something they could never have given you. Their dismissal of you only proves that they were not equipped to handle the greatness that lies within you. God is moving you to a place where your true value will be seen, respected, and celebrated. Don't let their inability to see your worth diminish your faith in what's coming. You were meant for more, and that's the truth you must hold on to. Being fumbled by those who didn't understand your value is a necessary part of your elevation. It had to happen because you are destined for greater blessings that only those with the vision to see can appreciate. You're on a path that leads to doors opening where others shut them in your face. God is positioning you for opportunities that are far beyond what you could have imagined. You weren't meant to stay in spaces where you were undervalued. You were meant to rise. Think of the time when you were overlooked for a promotion that should have been yours. It stung, but now you see how staying in that position would have limited your growth. Instead, you moved on to something greater, something that allowed you to fully express your potential. That's the path God is leading you on now. Their fumble was their mistake, but your rise is your destiny. Pursue it relentlessly because what's waiting for you will make everything you endured worthwhile. God has greater plans, and you're just getting started. You were always a blessing. From the moment you entered their lives, you carried the favor of God, but they were too blind to see it. It's embarrassing for them now, knowing they missed out on the divine gift that was right in front of them. You didn't just show up. You showed up with grace, strength, and the kind of favor that could elevate everything around you. But they fumbled. They couldn't see beyond their own limitations, and now they're left to witness your rise from a distance, knowing they played a part in pushing away what they should have cherished. You walked away with your integrity intact, and that's where your real strength lies. While they stumbled in their inability to recognize your worth, you stayed true to yourself. You could have lowered your standards, bent to their ignorance, but you didn't. You remained loyal to your values, even when it would have been easier to accept less. And that's why you're not the one who should feel any shame or regret. Walking away wasn't a loss. It was a necessary step in your elevation. Staying in a space where you were underappreciated would have only dimmed your light. Your integrity was too valuable to be wasted on people who couldn't even see the gift God had placed in their lives. Now you are shining. What was once hidden is now undeniable. Like a star breaking through the darkest sky, your brilliance is becoming impossible to ignore. The world is starting to take notice. The same people who overlooked you now have no choice but to witness your ascension. Every step you take is a testament to the strength you carried all along, the strength they never appreciated. The light that was once shadowed by their ignorance is now blindingly bright, and they're left in awe of what they let slip through their fingers. This is your moment of elevation, and it's only the beginning. Think back to a time when you were ignored at work, dismissed as unimportant while others took the credit. Now those same people can't move forward without feeling the weight of your absence. They didn't just lose a colleague, they lost the very force that kept things afloat. Now as your influence grows and your name is spoken in rooms they'll never enter, it's clear. You were always the blessing. God's purpose for you is far greater than anything they could comprehend. Even though they rejected you, misunderstood you, and left you standing alone, God never did. He was with you every step of the way, guiding you through the shadows they tried to cast. You are not just walking through this world, you are in the presence of the King of Kings, and that's where your true value lies. Their rejection was never a reflection of your worth. It was their inability to see the favor that was already upon you. God's presence in your life is your constant affirmation, and that's the only validation you need. While they sit in their embarrassment and regret, you walk forward with honor. They fumbled, and now they have to live with the shame of their mistake. It wasn't just that they let go of something good, they let go of something divine, something anointed. That's the weight of their loss. But you move forward with favor. God's hand on your life ensures that what they missed out on will only elevate you higher. Their regret is theirs to bear, while your glory is a testament to God's purpose unfolding in you. Every door they tried to close, every moment they dismissed you, was merely setting you up for something greater. Wherever you go, it's you who brings the light. It was never about the room or the people in it. It was always about you. You make the space glow with your presence, with the favor that God has placed upon you. When you walk into any environment, you carry the energy that shifts the atmosphere, not because of anything they've done, but because of who you are. You bring clarity, purpose, and vision, and they couldn't handle it. They thought the room was theirs, that they set the tone, but the truth is you were the one who made everything come alive. They'll realize too late that without you the light dims, the energy falters, and they are left with nothing but their own shadows. Take that time when they dismissed your contributions in a meeting, convinced that you were just another voice. Yet when you stepped back, everything they touched seemed to unravel. The project stalled, the ideas fell flat, and they were left scrambling. Now they see what was true all along. You were the one who brought the light. They simply didn't have the vision to see it. But God did, and that's why you are rising, while they are left in the darkness of their regret. Yes, they fumbled you, and it's deeply embarrassing for them. But here you are, still standing, still rising, brighter and stronger than ever. While they wallow in the regret of their blindness, you walk forward in your divine purpose, unstoppable. Their rejection didn't diminish your worth, it magnified your resilience. God's favor on your life wasn't swayed by their inability to recognize it. In fact, it shines even more brilliantly now, illuminating the path ahead. You're not defined by those who couldn't see your value. You're defined by the strength, grace, and purpose that was woven into your spirit by the Creator Himself. The power that you hold, the light that you carry, it was never contingent on their approval. You were meant to rise regardless of who tried to hold you down. Their fumble was part of the divine plan to reveal just how unstoppable you truly are. So rise above the rejection. Embrace your identity as a chosen one, fully aware that your future holds even greater blessings. You've already proven that no one's misjudgment can derail you. Now it's time to step boldly into the favor God has placed before you. Share your story. Let the world know how you survived, how you thrived, and how, in the face of every setback, you continue to shine. Your testimony will be the beacon that guides others through their own trials, reminding them that they too are chosen.